Muzi, thanks so much for your time. So, right, we're talking about the Gauteng budget, and we do understand that quite a lot has been saved in terms of the open tender system. But walk me through the budget as a whole. Well, what's happened, particularly since 2014?
What I will highlight to you is I represent the Gauteng Growth and Development Agencies, which is the implementing agency of the Gauteng Economic Development Department. And from yesterday's budget, the DED was allocated close to 1.5 billion, of which 2/3 of that has gone to implementing agencies. The implementing agency I represent, the GGDA, got close to 500 billion of that chunk. But just to highlight on the challenges and, on the achievements that we've managed to achieve over the past 4 years, we have managed to facilitate close to 10.1 billion worth of FDIs and DDIs into the province as the GGDA. And
from where and into where?
So a fair proportion of that is domestic investment, and then we have a significant amount from China, from Western Europe, from Brazil, as well as the Americas.
Okay, okay. Yes. And into which sectors?
So just to take a few steps back, I think we have an appreciation at the provincial government that we're an economy in transition from being a manufacturing sector to a services and knowledge-driven sector. So the spectrum of the FDI that we received straddles that. We get a lot of FDI in knowledge-driven sectors, in manufacturing sectors, as well as in tertiary sectors. Also in line with our economic development plan, those are the key sectors we target. So you notice in the manufacturing, we have a lot of agro-processing type of investment, capital equipment-based investment. In the knowledge-driven sectors, we've also invested catalytically to make sure we have a hub that can ignite that sort of thing. So as a subsidiary of the GGDA, we have the Innovation Hub, which is highlighted by the MEC earlier this today, has rolled out over 10 ICASI labs in the townships to make sure the future skills are also invested into in that sector of the economy.
I mean, Muzi, great in terms of achievements by shoring up so much of the capital into the South African economy over the time period. But obviously right now the economic conditions that we're looking at are very different. In fact, we just had the leading indicator that was released today showing that business confidence remains low. Foreign investors are really worried about some of our policies, the mining charter being one of them. I mean, how are you feeling about the agency's ability to continue to, do good things for growing Gauteng's economy in such challenging environments?
We remain extremely optimistic. In fact, if you look at our annual performance goals in terms of investment facilitation, in terms of FDI, we've managed to set a target of close to growing by 25% each year. Last year, despite a contraction of overall FDI inflows into the country, we managed to grow the level of facilitation by close to 25%. So we remain quite optimistic that we can reach the targets that we set.
I mean, Gauteng, it's understandable how it's a little bit easier to shore in investments here because it's the economic capital in South Africa, essentially. But you've also got the constraint of it being the place where everybody comes for better prospects. I'm talking about migration from other provinces. I'm talking about migration from the rest of Africa, putting a burden on, some of our resources, healthcare, education, and transport. I mean, how do you navigate that space?
It's quite complex. Although some of the issues that you touch on are really the mandate of the Housing Department, the Education Department. But you'll notice from yesterday's presentation by MEC Creasy, there's an effort to make sure the right amount of investment, despite finite level of capital available, is done to make sure housing and education, social infrastructure and economic infrastructure is available to address those growing pressures.
I mean, politically also, I mean, a lot happening in the province of Gauteng in terms of contestation for certain positions, higher positions. How is the political landscape right now either a challenge to attracting, further investments, or perhaps not a factor at all?
I'll respond to that in my capacity as an economist, not a politician. What we have seen in the past 8 months in South Africa is much improved forecast of our economic performance based on improved political sentiments. So politics plays a very important role in terms of igniting the right level of optimism to drive investment as well as growth prospects into an economic space.
But a parting statement, you're very confident about the ability of the GGDA to continue bringing in money?
Always confident.